after the Who song Pinball Wizard, Abby Hoffman comes on the stage and yells out, "I think this is a pile of shit," while John Sinclair rots in prison. So Abby Hoffman was actually a hippie who apparently supports that party. During Woodstock, it can be sometimes a bit hectic, including a lot of bugs or anything like destruction, and many people were killed. So what really happened? So when Abby Hoffman steals the microphone, Pete Townsend had noticed that Abby Hoffman was actually going to say, "I think this is a pile of shit," while John Sinclair rots in prison. But after that, Townsend had gotten really angry with what Abby had to say. So after that, Peter Townsend had yelled, "Fuck off my fucking stage." So what happened? Abby Hoffman was actually kicked off of the stage after Pete Townsend apparently used his guitar and sent him back off the stage. After the song that they apparently sang, which is "It's Gonna Be Alright," Peter Townsend apparently had this reminder to say, "The next fucking person who walks across the stage is fucking killed." Well, what I would just say is that it's like kind of like scary. So eventually Roger and Pete, who are still alive, they apparently said that Woodstock was one of the worst gigs ever. Especially with Abby Hoffman just trying to yell out, fuck off my fucking stage." I'm so sorry everyone if I use that word. I'm so sorry about this. Please forgive me, you know. Like, I'm seriously not gonna show the video. I'm just going to say it, but you know what I even mean. Like, sometimes I like to do some histories about this, you know. Sometimes I like to do histories about those kinds of things, like what happened at Woodstock, you know. Now there's actually another thing that I wanted to say. Ever since the incident at Woodstock, which involves the Who, Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend apparently talked about what really happened to them during the Woodstock. The lead bassist John Entwistle and drummer Keith Moon apparently did see this kind of reaction when they saw Pete Townsend apparently kicked off Abby Hoffman from the stage. Well, what I'll just say is like it's kind of very scary when people just try to do something like that. I'm not too sure what really happened to Abby Hoffman, but the update is that Abby Hoffman did die at just 52 years old, you know, from a stroke. So eventually, what I was going to say is that Abby Hoffman did somehow said that word is because he just yelled out for John Sinclair's arrest, you know. He just continued his activism in the 1970s with the icon of this anti-Vietnam War. He died of a fentanyl overdose at just 52 years old. You know what I even mean. So eventually, why did John Sinclair got arrested? Unfortunately, what I was gonna say is that he attempted to speak about the jailing of John Sinclair for the White Panther Party. He did grab the microphone and yelled out this word. But when Pete apparently just adjusted his amplifier between the songs, Hoffman did just get onto the left shoulder, you know? So what I was gonna say is that this apparently took place during the box set, 30 Years of Maximum R&B, which is this 2-track 20 of the Abby Hoffman accident, which is actually from the British rock band The Who. So basically, they were known as like the High Numbers from 1964 to 1991. Elton John's Saturday Night for Fighting. So eventually, what happened during Woodstock? So eventually, what I was gonna say is that I do believe that John Entwistle, the late bassist of The Who, had reacted out on why did Abby Hoffman just try and do this, and why did Pete Townsend did kick Abby Hoffman with his guitar? Well, what I was gonna say is it's just only for a show, you know. I do see some like bandmates like break instruments, but what I'll just say is like, why did they do that? Is it just a show, or is it like just like destruction? Okay, it's just only a show, alright? You don't have to react it out. It's not that kind of a big of a deal, you know? So what I was gonna say is that Woodstock was definitely one of the worst experience ever which the Who apparently did have, you know? Like the Who's worst gig ever, you know that? So the question is this kind of thing, you know? Like, why do you really think that Abby Hoffman said that about John Sinclair? Well, we all know that John Sinclair did get arrested for these kinds of marijuana possessions. You know, like John Sinclair was actually still alive today. He's actually the founding member of the White Panther Party. So eventually, due to that, he apparently got himself arrested during that kind of time. It was actually the most infamous accident. So eventually, what I was gonna say is that, do you really think that Pete Townsend did the right thing for kicking Abby Hoffman off the stage? Unfortunately for that, Pete did the right thing for kicking him out of the stage. But are you really sure that there's a right for this? Well, check this thing out for like the Woodstock, the Who's worst gig ever. You know. Let me tell you guys something. It's not gonna go really smooth. You know. It's not really gonna go really smooth when I'm gonna really say that. Okay. All right. So the answer was, for Daltrey, it's the worst show that the Who has ever played. You know? So eventually, Roger Daltrey did say that this is apparently the worst show ever. You know? I'll just say that it's also Pete Townsend's worst gig ever. So eventually, this is actually like kind of the reason why the Who does not like Woodstock, because of Abby Hoffman. But do you really think that Pete Townsend did this kind of thing where John Sinclair was arrested because Abby Hoffman wants to make a speech? Well, it's kind of okay, I guess, but I'm not too sure why. And you may have been wondering, why does Pete Townsend use the guitar to just try and do something bad? Well, what I was gonna say is, in my opinion, it's not that kind of bad when Pete Townsend did smash his guitar, even though that it was actually the Who's publicity to do that. Now, please don't complain to me just saying am I really going to repeat this one again? Why did Pete Townsend did say it? No, I'm not repeating it again, okay? I am not repeating this thing again, okay? Anyways, I'll just say that's all for now, and this is me signing